Hello, and welcome. We're going to start off right away with this wonderful lesson that to me is just a staple for the elementary music classroom, and I'm going to show you why right now. This lesson all hinges around the story Mortimer, which if you haven't brought into your music classroom yet, this is the time to do it. And if you have, but you're wondering what else you can do with it, we're going to go over it right now. So grab your paper, grab your pencil, take some notes, and let's get started. Now, as always, you can take your notes and take all this information, make it your own, or you can go ahead and sign up for a free month of the Soaring Scars Academy, where you'll not only have access to this wonderful lesson, but my entire curriculum. Along with all my scarf dances, for this lesson, I love to use Vivaldi's Autumn, which you can also find on my YouTube channel, because this is a lesson that I use at the start of the school year for me. It is one of the best ones to introduce some solfege or give my students a little review some of those basic titi rhythms, get my students analyzing some rhythm, get my students singing, and even start to introduce dynamics and half notes. So we're gonna do all that right now. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I do is I give my students a small, quick review on solfege that we are gonna need. And we're going to need do, which on this one, we're gonna put it on a fixed middle C, and then we go through the hand signs, which I love to do in a very fun way. First, I give them a small review on how to do it. So do, re, mi, fa, and sol. That's the only solfege that you're going to need for this lesson. And then I like to mix them up, challenge my students, and maybe even put it in their bodies. So if it's going to be do, then they have to be squatting all the way to the floor. But if it's sol, then they're up on their tiptoes. Because why not add a little movement break while you're also giving individual students a movement break who are meeting your expectations, who are standing with their bodies calm, have their voices off, have their eyes on you. That's the one who gets to go up and say, well, do we remember which pitch lives on the first space? That's going to be fa. Can you show it right here? And so on and so forth, mixing them all up to give your students a really good review and challenge. Then we're going to do it one more time, but still having them mixed up where students get to go up and tap and tell you what pitch they see, and then add in some singing. For this story, we're going to need one very simple solfege-filled pattern, and it goes like this. Thump, 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 thump. And you're going to see why in just a second. But then I might challenge them to do a little descending. Thump, 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 thump. Again, you'll see why. They're also going to need this song right here, and I'll do it for you right now, just in case you haven't heard it. It goes, clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang, gonna make my noise all day. Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang, gonna make my noise all day. And then you're gonna add in the steady beat. Very simple, but again, I love to make it animated so that my students can be participating with me. Most of the time I have a smart board, but when I didn't have a smart board, I also used a projector or I had a Toby. Something so that the students who are meeting my expectations can go up, tap my board, which is something that they all want to do, or the student that I knew just needed a little movement break can also be the one to just get those small wiggles out by going up, meeting my expectations, and tapping that board. Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang, shh. And you can even talk about how there's still a steady beat even though there's a rest, but on it we're just gonna do this instead of this, is how I talk to my students about it. Gonna make my noise all day. And they're gonna need that song for the entire story, which if you haven't heard, we're gonna go over a little bit right now because it is time to start our story. Now, as always, we wanna be supporting these amazing authors that make these amazing books that are just so perfect for the music classroom. So make sure you're going out, you're buying this book, you're renting it from your local library. In a pinch, it is on YouTube. And the story goes like this. I don't have time to go over the whole thing, but one night, Mortimer's mother took him upstairs to go to bed. There are those thumps. Can you have your students do it with the solfege hand sign? Thump, 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 thump. When they got upstairs, Mortimer's mother opened the door to his room. She threw him in bed, and she said, and this is important, I use a high voice to show this part, Mortimer, be quiet. Mortimer shook his head. Yes, you're going to see this repeating over and over and over again, that as the mother shut the door, she went back down the stairs. Thump, 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 thump. Again, there's that descending scale. As soon as she got back downstairs, Mortimer sang. Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang, gonna make my noise all day. day. Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang. Gonna make my noise all day. So simple, so easy. Your students will love to sing it because you can tell them be as loud as you want. Now, through that, it is important that you're having your students do Mortimer's mother with you. Have their voices up high because they're going to need to experience that if they're going to be able to do the challenge at the end. All right, you're going to want them to show the different dynamics, as right here, he's going to be very loud. He is showing that he is singing and not listening to his mother. But then his father comes upstairs. And again, now you might want to change how you do the thumps. Thump, 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 because his father's not going to thump up the stairs the same way that the mother would. He opened the door and yelled. Think about what dynamics you're going to ask your students to do for the word yelled. Mortimer, be quiet. Now, it's important to do a low voice there, but not your lowest voice, and we'll show you why in just a second. Mortimer shook his head, yes, but the same thing. The father goes back downstairs, again using your thumbs, and then Mortimer starts to sing. And maybe you can talk to your students, well, would he be singing even louder right now, or maybe would he be a little quieter? What do you think? Have your students decide and then have them sing doing the steady beats. This is such a quick book, but there's so much to go over. Mortimer's 17 brothers and sisters heard that noise and they all came upstairs. Thump thump, and this is what I do because it's so fun for this part. My students love it. Thump 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 thump. Awesome. They opened the door and they yelled in a tremendous loud voice, but because they're brothers and sisters, I have my voice go even higher. Mortimer, be quiet! Again, for that experience. The mother, Mortimer, be quiet. The brothers and sisters, Mortimer, be quiet. Mortimer shook his head, yes, but then he starts to sing again. Think about your thumbs. Think about how you can have the dynamics being talked about, so on and so forth. They got so upset that they called the police, who walked very slowly up the stairs, again thinking how you're going to get the thumps. Thump, 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 thump. Again, so on and so forth, and then saying in your deepest, scariest policeman voice, Mortimer, be quiet. My students think it's absolutely hilarious. I hope yours do too. Policemen shut the door and went back down the stairs, but as soon as they got to the bottom, Mortimer is still singing, again talking to your students how he's going to be singing, because he definitely does look a little scared. Well, downstairs, no one knew what to do. The mother got in a big fight with the policeman. The father got into a big fight with the brothers and sisters. Upstairs, Mortimer got so tired waiting for someone to come up that he fell asleep. The end. It's simple, it's fun, and your students will be doing something and experiencing this book the entire time. They're either singing, they're doing a steady beat, they're doing the mother voice, the father voice, the policeman, the brothers and sisters. They're doing all of it. So now, why not take the time to talk to your students about some of the things that they were doing, even if they didn't know that they were doing it. They were just experiencing it. Throughout our story, everyone wanted Mortimer to be quiet. But in music, we don't say quiet or loud. We have two different words, either piano or forte. And that's all we're going to do for today. They're called dynamics. Time to put dynamics to the test with some of our rhythms, tas and titis. All right, can you keep up? Watch out for the dynamics. What are you going to do if you see the P, right? Here's your rhythm. Try it out. Ta, ti, 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 ta. And there are those steady beat rhythms. If your students still need those, that little help. All right, but then changing it to forte, ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, etc., etc. They're going to do a couple different varieties of that, switching them up, putting them into play. Can you add the right rhythms to the song from the story now? So now we want to do some rhythm analysis to see if your students are listening and being able to tell which rhythm is which. You can use tas, titis, or listen closely, because there are some long tas, which is how I get my students starting to talk about half notes. Ta. So there's the difference between tas, titis, and ta, long ta. All right? A regular ta gets one beat of sound. A long ta gets two. Again, it's a small introduction, but they're going to be able to put it into practice right now. Clang. Is that a long ta? No, it's just a regular ta. Clang, again. Rattle, titi, rattle, bing, bang, and then a rest. Because what we're doing right here, even though, again, this isn't age appropriate for our students, but there are measures. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, off. So there are measures. Again, it's not what we're working with our students, but you can, and you can bring this back up later on to, again, go over it with your students and add in some more complex things. All right, gonna make my noise all day. Again, there's that long ta on day, rest. Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang. Gonna make my noise all day because it just repeats. Then can your students actually put it into their hands? Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, bing, bang. There's that rest. Gonna make my noise all day. Off. Clang, clang, rattle, rattle, etc. and etc. So now so far in our story, your students have been working on solfege, they've been working on dynamics and putting the words to the dynamics. They're working on rhythms and analyzing those rhythms, adding in the half notes, but we're still not done because throughout our story, we had mommy, and we have daddy, and we have policeman, and we have the brothers and sisters. And it's all showing which ones had high voices, which ones have low. Can you put them in the right order from lowest to highest? This is also just a cool down at the end of the class and a final little activity. So can your students realize that in between the scale, the high versus higher, low versus lower? Can we figure that out as a team? Alrighty, I hope that this was helpful. Again, you can go ahead and grab this full lesson, no prep, ready to go, where you get to go ahead and check out all that I have in store for all my members of the Soaring Scribes Academy. And if you like things like this, where you're taking that singing and you're making it something that moves, go ahead and check out my professional development, Singing Through Movement. It is a part along with 20 plus hours of other professional developments that I have for my members. So you can check that out. You can check out my moving assessments. You can even do, if 20 plus hours of professional development sounds a little overwhelming to you, then I got you. You can do our 5-week soaring challenge, where I take all of those professional developments and I break them down into bite-sized pieces, no more usually than 10 minutes a day, where you can go ahead and see how I bring movement into every aspect of my classroom. Along with this, you get a free workbook with each of these to keep track of your progress. And with that, I want to say thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one. Happy playing.